Welcome to the Top Style Show. Thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate the support today. We have Daniel Rascon. Daniel Rascon, the founder of Momo, momohq.com. It's an app that helps you plan your traveling, anything. You plan your traveling in one click. You just put some of your interests, things like that, and it plans it for you. I'm like, that's $1 million app? Whoa, what? You know, this is like my entire life goes into it, planning things, okay, and it does it for you based on your personalized preferences, things like that. It's just crazy. So what is Momo?
Yeah, no, well, thank you for having me. Momo is this AI that creates personalized trips for you. So it takes your personality, your preferences, and it uses AI to create a full itinerary based on your personality. And so we're starting with itineraries. It recommends personalized things to do, recommendations for restaurants, places, activities, but we're also expand to other things like bookings. So if you tell us I have this budget, we can help you book things like flights, hotels, Airbnbs, and other things.
Oh man, so you're like totally replacing the personal assistant. A 60 grand job. Boom, is it free or you have to pay for this planning?
It's free to use right now. Yeah, so you can create the full itinerary for any destination in the world, any city, and it'll be free to use, and we'll monetize with bookings. So whenever you book a flight, a hotel, we'll get commission from that.
Wow, man, I don't say it often, but I see if you can get into the booking part, and if you can make it so seamless, just like creating the planning, man, that's a total game changer. So now, let's say I want to take a vacation in Miami, or I want to go somewhere in New York, for a weekend, right? So what's the process? What do I have to do in the app?
Yeah, so you go to the app, it's on iOS, and Momo will ask you questions about like your trip. So let's say you're going to Miami, you tell, okay, Mom, I'm going to Miami. You set the number of days you're going, maybe it's a 3-day trip for a weekend. And then you ask your questions. So it might ask you what activities you like. Maybe you like hiking, maybe you like eating good food, maybe you like art museums. It'll ask you about food preferences, budget. And based on these answers, it'll give you that itinerary for things to do. So if you're going from Friday to Sunday, it'll tell you on Friday in the morning, you can go to this brunch place in the morning, you can visit this art museum in the afternoon, you can go for a hike for the sunset, and it'll just give you activities that you'll get based on your preferences.
Wow. I had a funny thing. This is what I for me, when I vacation anywhere, I just go with the flow, right? I had no idea. And then I come back from the vacation, and people ask me, "Oh, did you do that? Oh, that's so fun. So you did?" It's like I didn't even know that thing existed. When I went, I had no clue. I just went and I looked around and I saw whatever people are doing and came back home, right? But now this opens up your eyes, and also the things I would like. That's what is recommended. Not, my friends might like different things, and they recommend me different things. But this is recommending me what I like.
Yeah, and so that's important, right? So like what you mentioned is really, really important, based on what people mentioned, like people want to do the things that their friends are saying, or the things that people are saying online on different forums or different articles. And so what's interesting where we're at right now, and the opportunity that we saw is that large language models, AI, they're trained on the internet, they're trained on the web and data from all over the place. It can be social media, it can be articles, it can be Wikipedia. And so they have context around the world in different places. And so by using large language models, we can recommend very specific like niche places or hidden gems that you hadn't thought about going before. And so that's like where we think the magic of recommendations come, because like then you can get a place that you had never thought about visiting, or that it would take you like maybe hours to find on the internet. And so that's why we're bringing the place that you care about to you by doing that research for you and saving you hours of research.
Wow, man, this is incredible. I think this is gonna go viral. How is the response so far? People like it? Do they love the app? What's the response?
Yeah, we've seen very positive feedback. People love personalization. Whenever they use it and they're like, oh wow, this is actually a place I would love to go to, or this is an activity I love to do. And that's I think the most powerful thing that we have today, which is like, we'll ask you about your preferences, your personality. We'll know what you like, what you don't like. And based on that, it will give you something you care about. And we see a lot of excitement around that. And people even are trying this in their hometown. If you live in the Bay Area in San Francisco or in New York or in Hawaii, you can try the app, where you are, and it can recommend you things to do for this weekend. And that was something that we didn't expect. We expected this to be for travel and for people to use it only when traveling, but we were surprised to see people using it like where they live, for the weekend, for today, to see what they should do with their friends, with their loved ones. So we were very surprised by that, and we're interested to dig into that a little bit more.
I think I didn't even think about that, because Santana Row, I've been living there for years. For many years. People go there, visit, they have fun, they go to this restaurant, that restaurant. They ask me later, oh, did you go to that restaurant? I'm like, I didn't even know that thing existed over there. Because, I live there doesn't mean I know all the things. But now I can actually see things around me, and it can kind of give me a personalization for that day. Because, it's not always, it's not always this is what I like. It could be I like it because I'm in that mood today, right? It's the weekend, I want to take it easy, I want to take it slow, or it's something that I have to do packed schedule, but I still want to explore. So it's a lot of variations, and your AI can kind of give me recommendation based on those inputs.
Yeah, that's right. So it's one of the things that Momo asks you during the questionnaire is, how do you want to feel after this trip, or how do you want to feel after this adventure? Do you want to feel excited to travel again? Do you want to feel relaxed? How do you want to feel? And so we think that feeling is important, and we can help you figure out what you want to do, because people have different moods, different types of trips, different types of weekends, and you do it with different people. Maybe you want to do it by yourself. What can I do on my own this weekend? What can I do with my family, for my summer trip? So it depends on a lot of things, and we're taking all these variables, putting them together, and making sure that you can have a very fulfilling experience, create good memories from that.
Wow, man, your answers are so precise and perfect. So, but the thing is, you are a software engineer. You did computer science.
That's right.
Back in college, and right here in the Bay Area, right?
Yes, I went to St. Mary's College and majored in math with computer science.
But the thing is, you were originally from Mexico.
That's right. Yeah.
Man, wow. So you were always entrepreneurial like that?
Yeah, I think, I was interested in technology for a very long time. Grew up in Mexico, got really into tech, and I think I just love the idea of creating something, right? Like building something. And so when I was in high school, I learned how to code, building iOS apps. That was like the thing that I was like, okay, what if I could build my own app? I use them every day. Could actually just do it on my own. And I went online, learned on my own a little bit how to code, and that introduced me to computer science. And eventually, like when I was in high school, I realized that AI was going to change a lot of things, and I knew I wanted to get into AI. So for me to, I think like I was trying to figure out the best path for me to get into AI. And I realized that I need to come to the US. Silicon Valley here is the best place in the world to build things, to be around smart people, and especially in AI. And so I realized, okay, I need to go to the US, and the best way to do that is to go to college in the US. And so throughout high school, I worked on basically getting good grades. I was part of this program where I took AP and honors classes, and that helped me eventually apply to colleges. And I got a really good scholarships here at St. Mary's College. They cover like 90% of my tuition or more. And so that gave me a really good opportunity to come here. And so I was very happy to go to college here and have that opportunity, because it is very expensive, and to get that scholarship and have the support from my parents to be able to come here was like very, very incredible.
Wow, man, that's a beautiful story. So as an international student, but the university paying for your tuition, so you're like, they want you here. They invited you. You're the guest. Man, and then so after graduation, you worked for Google, Salesforce, U.com, a couple of these companies. So what's the process like?
Yeah, so it was during college. I was at Google first. So, well, actually, like I was in college first year. I went back to Mexico, and I did this internship back in Mexico as an iOS engineer. So I was coding, building apps for this company. And then second year, I came back, for college, and I went to Google. So I joined the Google Home team, which is part of Google Nest. I was working as a UX engineer intern, and what that means is like it's really fun actually. You get to work with UX designers to create prototypes for like the products that are coming out in the next 5 years. So it's like a very creative team thinking of like, okay, what does the future of home and smart homes look like? And you just build out a lot of different prototypes, you test it with users, and then validate it, and then they build it. And then after Google, I joined Salesforce. So I was a product manager intern the summer after. This was between my junior and senior year. and I was a product manager intern working in this team called Composer, and it's a product that it's a no-code automation tool for businesses to connect their APIs. And so, but when I was at Salesforce, there was this guy, Richard Socher, he's the chief scientist of Salesforce at the time, and he announced he was going to leave the company to start his own startup.
Yeah.
And me, I knew I wanted to get into AI. I admired him because he had built a startup that was acquired by Salesforce. He was leading everything AI at Salesforce, like including Einstein and all the research team there. And so when he announced it, I was like, wow, it would be amazing to work for him.
Yeah.
And so I left Salesforce as an intern. I reached out to Richard, cold emailed him, and I was like, hey, Richard, I'd love to work for you. This is my background. This is my story. I really want to get into AI. And I know whatever you do is going to be great. So I just want to learn from you and work on your team. And I didn't expect him to reply. He replied like a month later. And he interviewed me, gave me a task, created a pitch deck, and then he hired me after that. And so I joined U.com very early on. I was like the 5th team member. It was only four people in the team. We had like no users, no product yet, and it was extremely fun. It was my senior year. I was working for U.com, part-time, putting a lot of hours, and then I joined full-time after graduating college.
Oh my God. The thing is, all these things happened while you were in college.
That's right, yeah.
Oh God! Wow. Okay, folks. You gotta get started early. You gotta get started, and you're 23 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, this is crazy. So first is the iOS development, then Google, then Salesforce, then meeting Richard Socher, and then cold emailing him, working for U.com, and then leaving college, graduation, and full time at U.com.
That's right.
And the number 5 employee.
Yeah.
So you were the one of the U's. You were one of the top U's at the U.com, man. This is and you guys created this UChat thing, right?
Yeah.
But was it before even ChatGPT?
It was we released it a month after ChatGPT, but there was a key difference in UChat and ChatGPT. So UChat is a conversational search engine, and so compared to ChatGPT, at the time at least, it will give you it's a chat conversation where you could chat with the AI, but it'll give you sources. So it'll tell you, okay, explain to me quantum mechanics, and it'll give you a paragraph summarizing quantum mechanics, and it'll give you the sources of where you got the information from.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really valuable because people were using ChatGPT, and they're like, can I trust this answer? I don't know if it's true. It could hallucinate and make up, fake answers.
Yeah.
But UChat, we were trying to make it more trusted by giving you the sources where you got the answers from, and that way you could verify if the information was true, and you trust the search engine more. And that's the key difference that we had at the time. Yeah.
So is it still the case, or?
So ChatGPT now has a browsing plugin, so it can go browse the web and give you a summary of that. It's a little different. And now U.com also has more features. So U.com is multimodal. Yeah. And what that means is that when you're chatting with UChat, you ask for the weather, it will give you a weather widget, and it will show you, the weather, what it's looking like. If you ask for sports, it might give you the score right there. So it doesn't give you just text. It's like very interactive. Yeah. It's like very visual. You ask for videos, it'll give you videos. And so that's why we invite multimodal because, usually like UChat and ChatGPT as well, initially they were only text-based. So it's like chat, text. But we realized there's an opportunity to be more interactive and bringing these apps into a search engine, and that's what UChat has today.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. Wow. So you have all these amazing things going on at U.com, and then all of a sudden this year you left.
That's right, yeah.
So what was the process like?
Yeah, so it was a really hard decision to leave. This is the best time to be at U.com. There's been so much growth, a lot of users coming to use the product, a lot of excitement in AI in the search engine space. When Richard started U.com with Brian McCann, the co-founders of U.com, people were like, why are you doing a search engine? There's Google, it works really well. And people were questioning that. And then people didn't understand it very well. But then a couple of years after, when they realized what we were doing with AI, and then ChatGPT came up, people were like, okay, there's going to be new players in the search space. Oh. And so there was a lot of excitement there. And I really wanted to stay. But I think looking back at my own goals as a person, when I was in Mexico, I really knew that I wanted to eventually start my own company. I knew I wanted to be in the AI space. I knew I wanted to start my own company. And I was always working towards that. And it's the reason I became a product manager. I was a PM at U.com. And so I knew that eventually was going to happen, but I didn't know when. And so I was looking for the right thing for me to work on. I love traveling personally, and I saw a big opportunity in the AI and travel space. And the way I saw it was the last big breakthrough in travel was over 20 years ago, and that was with online travel agencies. So that's like the Booking.com, the Expedias, where they were aggregating this information, helping people book things. And so people went from using a travel agent to booking things on their own, right, manually, looking for flights, hotels. But then after that, I realized, okay, AI is now coming to the game, and it's gonna do the work for people. It's gonna be like this assistant that you mentioned. It's gonna be like this companion that just does all the work for you. And instead of you spending 8 to 10 hours planning a trip, the AI is gonna do that work for you, and you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your trip. Focus on making memories instead of worrying about the logistic part of it.
So one of the thing with your app is down the road, I would be able to book, and it can find me the cheapest ticket or the most comfortable or whatever my criteria is for that trip. So will you be adding those features or no?
Yeah, so we're working on getting there. I think we'll eventually get to that point where you tell us, hey, I have this budget, $500 for a weekend trip. Help me find everything I need from activities, from accommodation, car rental, everything you need for the trip. It will give you options, and you can decide on which ones you like.
Wow.
But yeah, eventually it'll give you the cheapest flight, the cheapest Airbnb, the cheapest hotel. But we're working to get there. I think we'll start with like other things first and focus on that, and then expand to that at some point.
Wow, this is incredible. The concept is fantastic. Back I was going to ask you this question. I heard this story that back in 1996, Mark Benioff, the owner of Salesforce, bought this domain name u.com. Right. And he had this idea, and he was searching for a Google alternative. But when he saw this AI thing coming in, he was like, this could be something. Because before that, nothing could rival Google. And so I think, and then probably he gave it to Richard, and he's one of the investors of u.com, right? So is that story true?
Yeah, that's true. So it's partially true. Like Mark Benioff, he had the domain u.com, and including other domains that are popular like work.com, which redirects to Salesforce, I believe.
Data.com.
Yeah, right? And I think he also owned the App Store, like the App Store domain. And he gave it to Apple, I believe, to Steve Jobs, I believe. But with u.com, he held on to that domain for like over 20 years. And a lot of people asked for it. People knew that he had it, and they're like, hey, I want to start this company. Can I get a domain or buy it from you? And he was waiting for the right moment to give it to someone. And I believe when Richard told him he was going to leave to start a search engine, he saw the opportunity to, hey, u.com will be the perfect domain for that. And I believe he gave it to him in some way.
I have something for you. I saw your profile last night, and I thought you are going to be very successful. I didn't know any of this story, anything you said about coming here and scholarship, none of that. I didn't know any of this. Okay. But looking at you, I kind of thought he's going to be something. I don't know what or how successful, but he's going to be there somewhere. So what I did, I also made an investment similar to Mark Benioff. I bought DanielRascon.com.
Oh, wow. Really? That's smart.
One day when he's successful, he's going to write me a check that I can retire with. And I can go on a trip using his app and full retirement.
You know what the funniest part is that I used to own that domain. It used to be my personal site, and I used to have like my resume there in my background, but I think I just didn't care. I was like, I'm not applying for jobs anymore. I'm not really interested in like having people go on a website. So I just stopped renovating the website. So it's funny that you took it away from me now. But yeah.
But it's reserved for you. I'm not giving it to any other actor, Daniel Rascon. It's just for you. So man, wow. So that's another thing with your Momo. I saw you got momohq.com. That's pretty good, pretty clever, because there are other Momo different things. But how do I search on App Store? Because a lot of times people might search and there might be other Momo. Should I search like Momo AI or Momo?
Yeah, if you look up Momo AI, it'll come up at the top, our app. And yeah, we have the domain momohq. We have the domain joinmomo.com as well.
Oh, that's pretty good.
With momo.com, we also own that. But yeah, we're an AI company, and so if you look at Momo AI, it'll come up in the App Store.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. By the way, so in Momo, is it just you, or do you have other co-founders, other engineers? What's going on?
So yeah, I'm a solo founder working with a founder engineer. He's part-time, and we work together on building the product. But for now, it's primarily just me full-time, focusing on building and looking to expand the team pretty soon.
Yeah. So are you going to be raising any funds soon, or?
Yeah, we're in the process. We've talked to some investors already. We're going to start fundraising our first round in the next couple of months or so.
For you, fundraising will be a piece of cake.
I mean, we'll see.
That's gonna happen because, if me knowing nothing, invest in a domain name with your name on it, I can guarantee you. Hopefully, some of these parts of the video goes viral, and that would change a lot of things. But investing not a problem for you. I think you will get a lot of funds, and then it will be how fast you can go. And
hopefully, we'll see.
One of the things that would come in is I thought about it. I was thinking because you're going into the travel space,
Right.
and there are so many companies in this space that we have never heard of.
Yeah.
The other day, my parents their flight got canceled, and they were somewhere in the Middle East, and I had to buy the ticket, and Google took me to trip.com. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know what Trip.com was before that because I'm, Expedia and all that, the IAC Barry Diller stuff, right? That's where we live in. And then I looked it up. It's like a $20 billion company based in China.
That's
and
right.
I was like, or I think Singapore-based company with Chinese owners, something like that. I was like, wow, if they can do it, Momo can certainly bring the AI back. And as soon as it goes into the transaction phase where money is being exchanged, the valuation of Momo is not like another AI startup. It's an entirely different phase altogether. So I think when the investors would invest in you, the idea it's not just another AI startup using the large language models. It's where money will exchange hand very quickly as long as they can trust the product. So I think those potential those are my thoughts, and hopefully other people will think the same way. So right now, other engineer and you developing it all day, all night, full time, focused on building Momo. So other than this Momo, you are very interested in actually. In the generative AI space, you're thinking about artificial general intelligence. Tell me some of your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I think when I was in high school, actually before high school, I was trying to figure out what to do. I knew I liked tech. I knew I wanted to have work that made an impact, but there were so many industries that you can go into, right? And different applications. So I was like, okay, what am I going to work on? I think space is cool. I could work in space to help people go to Mars. I think that'll be exciting. And there's just like a lot of different problems that exist in the world that I'd love to contribute to solve. And I realized that AGI was going to happen very likely in my lifetime. And so AGI is artificial general intelligence, and is AI that is at the level of intelligence of a human, right? So AI that is as smart as the smartest human.
Yeah.
And so we think that when that happens, it's going to change a lot of things. And what I realized is that once we solve intelligence and do AGI, we're going to be able to solve a lot of these problems. So problems in diseases, like find cures for some of the world diseases, like the worst ones, be able to apply it to basically the world's biggest problem. And once you have like this AI that's like smart as a human, it's going to continue to exponentially become more intelligent, and it's going to do a lot of the work that we need to do to solve these problems for us. And so for me, when I realized that there's nothing more impactful to work on than to work towards AGI. And so there's different ways you could approach it. Historically, how people do it is like they go major in computer science, then they do a PhD, they do some research, and they become AI researchers. And that's great. There's a lot of great work being done there. But I didn't really want to do that. I was not interested so much in the research part of things, and I wanted more to build and create products. And so I was trying to figure out how to get there, and I knew that eventually building my own company will make sense in a startup. So I decided to go that route, and I didn't know when it was going to happen. Like I mentioned, I knew that I started with like some big companies during college. I could have joined Salesforce full time. They offered me to come back actually full time, but I decided to go work with U.com, which was like a really good decision because I got to learn from really smart people in the AI industry, very talented. The founders, Richard and Brian. A lot of the work in natural language processing inspired large language models and ChatGPT and all of these like products. So I think being able to learn from that in that team. I knew that was going to give me a really good set of skills to eventually start my own company, which I'm doing now, and I hope to eventually, contribute towards this journey of, getting to AGI and solve a lot of these problems in the world. Yeah.
Wow, man! Honestly speaking, you're probably the absolutely most important space that we're facing in the world right now and in the next decade or so. So. In terms of artificial general intelligence, some people have this feeling that it's way too far away. What's your idea in terms of timeline? Because the AI has already surpassed us in specific areas, but the general part, in general, I think people have some doubt that whether that would happen in the next 10 years or 20 years, or it's never going to happen. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's hard to predict how it'll come out, but I think people have different definitions of AGI. How do you define intelligence, first of all? And so people disagree on that. So to define what AGI is even harder. And for some people, it might be like 30 years away. For others, it might be 10 years away. But I think the way I like to think about it is like, I think a good definition of AGI is if you have this intelligence, which is like this AI that is able to innovate, to create, to do patterns. And I think one use case that is relevant, for instance, like research in like science research. If you have an AI that can do scientific research, then it's likely as smart as a human. And so I think there's different like ways you can look at it and different sort of like use cases that if the AI can do at that point, then it's probably AGI. But I mean, some people think that AGI needs to be conscious like a human. I don't know if that's the case. Or some people think that it should be embodied. It should be like a robot that can sort of like move around, grab things the way a human would. I don't know if that's exactly what AGI will be, but I think we'll know when we get there, or perhaps it will happen and we'll look back and be like, okay, that was when AGI happened. And I think what we realize now is, with a product like ChatGPT, it's like one of the top 10 products, released in history. And it's the most advanced AI ever, and it's changing a lot of things. People are like very surprised what it can do. But what you realize is that it's also like not changing too much. People are going about their lives in their own way. You're still like going to work. You're still doing your own thing. It is changing the way people use these tools. Like they almost have like superpowers. They're more productive at work to write an email. They can use ChatGPT. To do some research, they can go to ChatGPT, and it's amazing and it's very powerful, and people are saving time. But in reality, nothing is changing. Like a lot of things are not changing the way you think they will be. And I think one of the things that I'm worried about is that a lot of jobs will be automated. I do think AI is going to automate a lot of jobs. But today, it's been a big change. ChatGPT is like a big change in, I guess, overall like human history, right? It's like one of the top products released ever. And so it's like a pivot moment where a lot of people realize what AI can do. But I still think a lot of things will remain the same, and we won't know when we reach AGI, maybe only after we reach it.
This one of the use cases of ChatGPT that I hear all the time is college kids. And before this is a good story. When back in the days when I was in college, not many people used to access Google to get the answers. So we were basically, the professors used to have the guide, the answer book. And somehow they forgot the answer book, and we used to get that, or whoever had that, and then we get the answers that way. And then later in my college career, college life, then the Google started coming. So we don't need those books. It's already on Google. It's there, right?
Right.
And now kids are like, oh, we don't even go to Google. We just type it up, and ChatGPT gives me the answer, and we just copy and paste that. So it came from, we had to actually come up with the answer, then the stealing from a book, and then Google had the answer, but at least you have to go through the answer. Some of those are wrong answer, etc. And now it's just copy pasting, but this could be also wrong answer ChatGPT can give you, right? So that's also a scenario. But that's one of the areas, and then other productivity things, so that can increase your productivity.
I think on students, people should be thinking about this as a tool. It's like a tool that's augmenting people, give them the ability to be more productive and do things. And someone told me about this last week, which I thought was very interesting. There's this admission test, I believe, or some sort of test in college where I think it was like something medicine related. And it was like they were giving on the test to students, hey, like this is what ChatGPT gave us diagnosis for this problem. Figure out what's wrong with it, or figure out how to make it better. And so sure, you can use ChatGPT if you want to, but that's the answer that ChatGPT already gave you. So figure it out with your knowledge, with your own skills, what's wrong with it, or how can you make it better. And so I think that's the kind of ways that we should be approaching this, of like, don't restrict access to ChatGPT, everyone will be able to access it, but figure out how can you make humans more productive, intelligent, help them learn faster with these tools. I think that's how we should be approaching it.
Wow, man, the professor that did that, I don't know whether it's a professor or whoever did that, it's super smart. It's just he could have said, oh, these are the problems, what happened to it? Instead he said, oh, ChatGPT gave us these things. So he's kind of reverse engineering the brain of these students. They're like, oh, God, okay. Well, but I think he wants to go viral. That's probably...
It's a good way to go viral for sure.
This is pretty good. So now, in terms of the... A lot of people, I was talking to another guest who were saying they're doing the marketing material, a lot of the marketing materials using ChatGPT and things like that. For Momo, have you thought about using any of that for marketing purposes, things like that?
Yeah, I think we will. Marketing is one of the industries and one of the use cases that are the most obvious. Like they're the ones where LLMs are really good at. And the reason that is a lot of marketing is text generation, like coming up with like good like one-liners, good like hooks, like ways to get people to click on things. And so AI can do that really well. It can generate text. It can summarize things. It can come up with like different taglines, different headlines. And so it's one of the use cases where it makes a lot of sense. We also have image generation, so you can create assets for your marketing campaigns very easily with things like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney and these kind of tools. And that's one of the reasons for this. I think one very interesting fact is Jasper is a tool for marketers that helps them generate copy, text, and a lot of these things. And I think initially, very likely they were built on just GPT-3, which is OpenAI models.
Yeah.
And they made more revenue last year than OpenAI. So like they're built on OpenAI. Whoa. They have an interface for marketers, but they made more money by charging for like those tools for marketers, and more than OpenAI did last year. I think that will change now that ChatGPT is out and they're charging for it. But it's very interesting that like finding the right use case for people, solving a problem for them. It just proves to be efficient.
Wow, and you're solving the OpenAI problem in the travel space. Do you say like in the travel space or travel planning space? For now it's planning, but eventually I think you're going to go into full travel.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of the travel AI. That's what you are, Momo.
I think we're in the travel industry. One thing that we're exploring is this idea of how can we help people, find experiences in general. Like how can you help people, whether it's like while traveling or where they are, can we help them discover new things? Because if you think of like where we are right now, one of the problems that we see the most at Momo is, Gen Z is now the loneliest generation ever by different data points, more than other generations. They're isolated on their phones. They spend 7 to 10 hours a day on their phones. And apps today, social media, they're built to keep people engaged and isolated. And so how do you solve that? And engaging in new activities, doing new things has been proven to help people be happier. And when you connect with people, when you go out and do a new thing, that makes you feel good. And especially if you like it. So one of the questions that we have is like, how can we help people do that more? How can we, understand you as a person? Do you love nature? Do you love video games? Like, what do you like? And how can we help you do activities with other people, like new experiences that help you just be happier and engage in with other people? I think that's very important. And one of the things that we want to get into more, because we see that as a big problem that's only getting worse, especially after the pandemic and people are like more isolated. And there was like more mental health issues. So we care a lot about that, and we might be focused on that more, which is like still in the travel space, we think, of like finding experiences, booking those things and going out there, especially while traveling. But I believe it's accurate to say that we're in the travel industry and that we'll expand to bookings and other things later.
Yeah, this is so important. And you actually went to college during the pandemic.
That's right, yeah.
Wow, that's not a good college experience. Like the entire pandemic, or probably. How about your freshman year? Was it pandemic?
No. So I was in junior year, I believe, or close to senior year, and it was funny actually, interesting. I was in South Korea for this trip. It was an entrepreneurship course, part of St. Mary's. We have this thing called Jan Term at St. Mary's, which is like for the month of January, you take one class, only one class that's for 1 month, that's different from your major. And it can be anything. I took a class on Da Vinci one time and innovation, and that year I was taking a class on entrepreneurship and startups in South Korea. And we're in this university, and that was 2020, and that was January 2020, and so COVID was just starting. It was in China, and it was expanding to South Korea. And I remember when we were leaving the airport, people were talking about COVID, like this new thing that's happening, that we should be careful at the airport, wash your hands, keep away like distance from people. And after we came back from South Korea, then everything went online. The US, I think it was like around March, where people, the quarantine started, people started staying home, and we had Zoom classes online, which are not as efficient. I was not very focused on school, to be honest. I was not paying attention to class at all. I was mainly focused on U.com and working, more of that work.
Oh man, so you were in South Korea in January of that year. So that's 2020, and doing entrepreneurship and all that, and then back home, boom, you come back and the pandemic. But the good thing is at least you got the first 2 years of college experience like a normal person.
That's
because
right.
The first 2 years very important. Last two, I think you're okay. I wouldn't feel too bad.
Okay, that's good. But it makes a difference also when collaborating and work. When I was at Google, I got to be in person, and that was there's so many events working with like engineers, designers in person, like that collaboration and just being creative and building these things, like it's so much better. And so in contrast, the year after at Salesforce, it was online. And they tried props to the Salesforce team. They tried to make it very engaging. They had like online activities, but it's just not the same. It's just harder to have like those interactions, meeting people, having those events. And so it was still fun. I learned so much, but it wasn't as fun as like, being in person. And it does change, the way things work.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on this, the virtual world? Apple came out with that yesterday, right? The Vision Pro thing, and then, Facebook has been doing that for so long on that. So this virtual reality, AR, VR, is that going to be a thing, or is just we are excited about it's a tool, we're happy, and then we forget about it?
I think it's exciting, seeing what Apple released. I think that there's positive ways, to see it, and there's negative ways to also see it. I think something that's really exciting is, again, going back to the problem of your phone. We're like so addicted to our phones, and physical devices, they interrupt our nature with the world. And what that means is like they're physical. When you're looking at a screen, you're not looking at other things around you. You're not looking at the people that you're around with. And I think something exciting about augmented reality, which is like these glasses that Apple released, the Vision Pro, they keep you connected with your surroundings. So augmented reality, it takes like your reality and it adds to it. It adds like sort of like things in addition to that. So if you're working with someone in person, you might see different tools, like a browser here, like some 3D things that you can move around, or like you can watch a movie here and see like you're not disengaged with the world. And I think that's positive, and I think that's a good feature to think about. It is kind of weird seeing how it looks like,
look of it.
It just looks silly, right? It's just like it's kind of like dystopian as well in some ways. Like there's this ad from Apple. They're like recording like a video of the kids. It's like a dad, and it's just like it doesn't feel right in a lot of ways. It just looks a little creepy, like not the future that we should be hoping for. But I think as these devices become lighter and more seamless, that's going to be very important. And I think I believe in that future, but I don't want us to be so much on our phones, like so disengaged with the world. And this is called ambient computing. And Apple talked about that. Tim Cook, the CEO, he was like, we're entering a new era for Apple, which is ambient computing. Before it was like just computer, like devices, smartphone devices, just like these physical devices. And ambient computing is the type of technology and computers that sort of like are part of your surroundings in some ways. And so it can be like projectors that you engage with as part of like your physical environment. And I think that's really exciting. And I think that's the future that we should be working towards. But I'm not convinced that Apple, the way it looks at provision is the right solution. But it is so many technologies coming together that is really exciting. So many advancements that it's like a very hardworking team that put it together. That is really, really cool to see.
Some people used to say about the VR thing in the travel space, like having the AR goggle. I think not the VR. Usually AR comes in like, okay, if you had the AR goggle in, the HoloLens and all that, you go to a museum and you know all the information right there. I think Apple is the combination of AR, VR, right? So it's so for your people, you might be able to make an app for the Vision goggle thing, right? And
I think like adoption will be slower. I think it's very expensive to get a Vision Pro. Like next year is like $3,500, I believe, and I think we'll start to see adoption. But we'll probably get into a space of like AR and VR. I think maybe later once we have established a vertical and expand to that. But I think it's exciting. Like imagine you're traveling and you're packing your things. And then the AI tells you, hey, you forgot your toothbrush, or like it's gonna be snowing in Tahoe. How about you bring like this other jacket that you have, or you're forgetting, like swimsuits or something because you're going to the beach. So it can help you pack, and it can help you, just make sure you have everything ready while you're driving or while you're walking in the city, and tell you, hey, this is like a historical place. This is what happened here. It's very popular. This is a story of the Eiffel Tower. Like there's a story behind it. You're in an art museum. You look at this art, and it tells you, hey, this is the story of like Van Gogh painted this, so many years ago, and this is the story behind it. There's a very exciting future where you can learn and still be present as you're traveling and exploring, and it's like a really fun way to explore and like learn new cultures. And also you can imagine if you're in a country, let's say you're in South Korea, for example, and you don't speak Korean, and you're talking to someone from there, then you might help to translate. You can see subtitles. I believe there's a project, I don't know if it was Meta or someone else did it, you like translate live, when you're talking to someone that speaks a different language. So all those use cases we'll start to see in travel, and I'm really excited to see those for sure.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like, I was, even NVIDIA had that presentation where they were showing him talking in different languages, right? Using AI, just AI, I think, use the Mid Journey and all these couple of these things. I was thinking about when you were saying all these things. I was thinking, what if it's just you and it's all coming in Spanish, and we publish it, have a like a Beast Spanish channel.
No. I mean, we'll definitely see that future where people speak different languages and they're still able to have conversations. Yeah, it's
and
pretty
they'll
exciting.
be like, "Oh, Tom's speaking Spanish now." And then your Korean friends that you made over there, are you still in touch with any of them?
Yeah, I have friends in South Korea. I met some really cool people there, and still keep in touch. Yeah.
Nice, man. This is so you're a very positive thinker. So you have a very positive outlook that these tools would help us down the road. You're not thinking that, okay, these are gonna take away the jobs. Your vision is they're gonna create different jobs that we didn't have before. How about this job thing? Because we never worried about these jobs because the industrialization never took away the high-end jobs, right? The thinking and all that, right? We were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna put machine and don't worry, you guys reskill yourself, learn something else. But now that's coming to you, you're like, oh, reskill yourself now, Tom. What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, okay, that's a problem. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, so I like to keep a positive mindset.
Yeah.
It's the future that I help build. But I think there'll be a lot of problems, and job displacement is one of the ones that I think in the nearest term is one of the most concerning ones. It's not clear to me. Like people say that sure, like the industrial revolution, it took away jobs, but it created new ones. I do think new jobs will be created with AI, but I think most jobs will still be automated, and that'll be a problem. I think we'll need to find the solution that I think works best is something like universal basic income, where governments, sort of like change the way economic system work because, AI is doing all the work and humans, need something to do. And so just basically, if humans can't work, then you're giving them like a monthly payment just for being a human, or like a citizen. You just like bill them, you just send them money, like maybe a couple $1,000s a month so they can live and, buy things and live life. But I think if that's the case, if we go with UBI, universal basic income, then what are people going to do, right? I think that's a question of a lot of people find purpose in their job. And so what happens when, when AI takes over that? And so I think one solution, or one way to think about it, which is somewhat positive, is, AI is not going to take away things like entertainment. People will want to see other humans, be actors, like doing entertainment things, or sports. People want to see other humans compete in sports, like basketball, racing in Formula One. All those things will be exciting, or art. People still want to do art and experience like human artistic things, like poetry, paintings, and other things. So all these fun things and creative things, I think, is going to be exciting to see people explore that. And for me, the reason I'm excited about the travel space is that travel's not going anywhere, and AI is not going to travel for you, right? It's like, people will still love to travel. It's going to be more important. So if this future becomes true where people have universal basic income, they're going to be traveling all over the world. They're going to be exploring, the entire world and maybe soon Mars. And so it's going to be more important to be an explorer and like going on these adventures and finding meaning of that. And what we want to do at Momo is help you find purpose in each trip, help you create those memories. Because that creates just better trips, and if you're this person that loves art museums, you'll find like the best art exhibits in the world for you to visit. And if you love sports, you can find where like soccer began, and you can see like the best matches. Or if you love tech, like me, I love tech and entrepreneurship. I went to South Korea, and that was a great trip where I got to visit Samsung. I went to Kia, different startups, and that was amazing for me. I love that trip because it's something I care about. And so if we can help people find purpose in what they like, maybe they love Harry Potter, we find like the best place that feel like Harry Potter in real life, whether it's in Scotland or other place in Europe, then we can help you do that. And I think that's really exciting to just help people find purpose in who they are. But I am really concerned about the jobs. I don't see AI creating new jobs for everyone. I do think a lot of jobs will be displaced, and we'll need to find solutions. And I don't think it's up to a company or an individual person to figure it out. I do think it's going to be people coming together, especially governments with their citizens and just the whole world of our society, figuring out what makes sense as a solution to this problem. But one thing is clear, AI is going to change everything in society, and it's going to be hopefully not a very drastic change, but it's going to be hard to adapt to those changes, and they're going to be very quick. So that is a concern of mine.
Yeah, I never really thought of it this way until, we are providers of, a lot of the technical staffing solutions for a lot of the large companies. And we never thought developers would be displaced by AI, that because we were thinking developers are the ones creating AI, but not really. A lot of the front-end developers, some of the simple JavaScript codes, your ChatGPT is writing pretty well. And, some of the back-end jobs still pretty good, but the front-end got very drastically affected. Even this thing haven't even started, we just started talking about it and boom, because managers are like, okay, the backend guy can use the AI to do a little bit of front end, it should be good. We don't need an additional guy for that, right? So, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I think same with digital artists. People did not expect for AI to be so good at creating just art in general, like new art based on, being trained on a large data set. And now we see people using, AI tools to create logos, but also art, like paintings, digital art, and that was the thing unexpected to a lot of people. They didn't see that coming, and it was surprising to see. Like same with developers, but I think the surprising thing that, and to be honest, people didn't expect is like large language models. There's a paper where LLMs came from, and the AI community did not expect that to be the thing that worked so well. And eventually, like OpenAI started experimenting with it, and it seems to work really well, right? We see ChatGPT and other tools, but it was surprising to a lot of people. I think people are trying different things, and with these models and language models and other ML models, and just to see what works and how we get to that AGI level. And somehow LLMs seem to work really well, which makes sense when you look at the data and how it works statistically and mathematically. But I think it was surprising to a lot of people. And so the use cases, it's like creating code, writing copy like text, writing code, and using that to also generate images. So it was pretty surprising, I think, to a lot of people.
So man, you have a lot of good inputs. You created you gave me a lot of these good ideas that to provoke thoughts. What's your thought process? So let's say Momo, you work on it for the next decade or so. So what's your career plan? Are you running for office or anything? Not in 2024, right? In 2040 you'll be 24.
I will, yeah.
Oh man, that's a perfect campaign. I'm 24, 2020.
Yeah, I think, I see a lot of big problems that I'd love to contribute to. It's hard to, just try to, like out of college or like at this age, just like try to solve climate change or, try to solve like, big diseases that exist in the world or some other big problems that we see. But I think I'll start with Momo. I think it's, hopefully we'll be able to solve some of these issues in like, the travel space and those problems in that area, help people experience more, contribute to like better mental health, things like depression, anxiety. Hopefully like it contributes to that in some ways. But yeah, I do see myself, hopefully working on this in the next like few years. We'll see if it comes to 10 years. I think hopefully we can expand to other areas. That'll be fun. But I think my goal will be to work towards, contributing towards AGI and building products, based on these technologies that just help these problems. And I think Momo is one of those things, but we'll see how that continues to progress in the next few years.
So, this is my curiosity, out of curiosity. Since you have achieved so much in such a short period of time, in such a young age, how is your daily schedule like? Like, how do you, because you have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas, so how do you process information? Like back in our time, I'll give you an example. We wake up, we read newspaper. I still do for hours. I read newspaper for every stupid story, whatever happened to this, that, and that's how our brain works. We get the news, and then there's problems in the company. We solve those, blah blah blah. And later on, do some exercise, etc., right? How's your day?
I think to learn, there's so much information online, and you have to be as smart about how you learn. So I think for me, I like to just dig into things that I'm interested in. So. I do look at Twitter, for instance. I feel like Twitter is my newspaper where like I don't tweet so much, but I do look at the feed and tweets too. One, like I think the most important is like learning what's happening in AI, in the world of AI, and just in general, people are promoting things and announcing new things. So it's exciting to see that. But I think I really like a lot of articles, listen to some podcasts as well, audiobooks, read books a lot as well. But I try to be efficient in that. And like if there's a book, and for instance, right now I'm thinking of network effects, go to market. So taking this Momo to market, and I'm reading The Cold Start Problem by Andrew Chen, very, very popular book. And, basically have to identify, okay, what do I kind of know already, right? So if I know things about, building a product, then I might skip that chapter and go directly into the chapter that I'm interested in, that I want to learn about, because sure, I can spend the whole, I'm sure it's interesting to read the whole book, but I try to be very efficient at what I read in books and, looking for the content that I think will be most valuable to me. And if I find that it's interesting, just keep reading more and more. I'm also, I'm Gen Z, so I also, use TikTok and, and YouTube. And I think there's now a lot more content. You see like podcast clips there, or you see people teaching things, and I learn from that. And obviously you can't learn from like a 1-minute video, but I usually like find out about interesting things like on TikTok, and then just do some research on my own to dig deeper and learn more about it. I think one of the things that I love learning about is the brain. So I think the brain is like a puzzle. We don't know how it works very well. There's so many unknowns, and AI and the brain relate a lot. So I love to learning more about it. And also space, I love learning about cosmology and astrophysics and all that. So those are the two areas that, outside of AI and tech and business, I just like kind of like to learn about those two topics a lot. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting, man. That's very interesting. So now, for a young kid that's growing up in South Korea, Mexico, Miami, New York, wherever it is, and that kid is thinking about AGI or artificial intelligence in general, thinking about how to do entrepreneurship just like you, what do you suggest that kid to think, what's your advice for him?
Yeah, I think him
or her.
Yeah, of course, yeah, for everyone. And I think for me, like thinking of that question, I think there's this quote that's very popular. It's I believe is something like, luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And I think that's a great quote. I remember when I read that, I was like, I think that's true. And truth is, you have to be lucky. I think I've got. I'm just getting started, I believe, but to get where I am today, I got lucky. I was able to get that scholarship that got me into college. I applied to like 200 internships to get the Google internship. I only interviewed for like 2 or 3 of them, so it's hard to get that. And I think just overall, I was just prepared. I was like, you can't, I think Steve Jobs has a speech on this, like you can't connect the dots forward, right? It's like a really good thing because you can only like look back and be like, okay, that makes sense. But to be honest, like just explore and like do the things that make sense to you. Like follow your intuition. For me, I wanted to create things and I wanted to code to create something. I was interested in coding because I wanted to build an iOS app. That's why I got into that. I thought it was interesting. I did it for fun. I didn't expect it to get me my first internship, which gave me my other job, and then my other job, things linked to other things. But I think just explore what makes sense to you, what you enjoy. I think just doing things that you love the most makes a lot of sense, and follow your intuition. Find those opportunities. I think you can create your own luck by finding those opportunities. Like make yourself go out there. I think when I moved here to the Bay Area, came from Mexico. I didn't know anyone here. I was at St. Mary's College, very close to everything happening in Silicon Valley. So what I did with the first 3 months, I went to a lot of events, a lot of meetups in some of them AI, some of them tech, and I met people. And I went to hackathon and did some coding projects, and I just put myself out there. And people were like, I think most of the people in my year, in freshman year, they're trying to make friends, and I was trying to make friends in college and have fun. But I was also just trying to get involved in the tech industry already by just going to events and meeting people. So I do think that, again, you don't know what the opportunity is going to come, but you can prepare for that by just putting yourself out there, working hard and hoping that the right opportunity comes along.
That's fantastic. That's a very good advice. And today you also came on the Tom Style show before going on to Joe Rogan and other places.
No, thank you for inviting me. No, this is great.
And you put yourself out there, out in the YouTube community and other clips, all these different platforms. And so when you raise money, I think you're going to raise an astonishing amount. This Momo is going to be a very, very big success. I believe in it. So thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we want to see you back when you release some new features, some new things coming up. Let us know. By the way, folks, you gotta if you're watching this long and you haven't downloaded Momo, that's insane. You got to go to Momo AI, check it out, iOS, and do some planning. You don't have to even go on a vacation. Just do planning around you, what you're gonna do today, right? Try it out, see, give some feedback. Daniel is right there. Let him know. He's gonna make it better and better. Yeah. So thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe and stay tuned.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.